Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Ash from Axel here with
All right.
Jay. Jay, how you doing?
Hey, great. How's it going, Ash?
Doing good, doing good. We were just talking. It's cool that we have a user who we've known for a while who's on truly the other side of the world. I'm in New York, 8:30 a.m. here. Jay's over in Thailand, 8:30 p.m., right?
Right, right. 8:30 p.m.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, we can dive right into it. I mean, anybody who's been following the journey knows how much we've thought about different products to offer and how important ramping is when you think about owning your money. You just straight up have to move your money out of the existing system to some extent. So what I'm gonna do, Jay is the first person outside of the team to see a sneak peek of what bank transfers look like. And I just want to briefly show him what that flow looks like, and we'll just get his thoughts in real time. Go ahead and share screen. Let's see. You can see my screen, right, Jay?
Yes. Yep, I can see it.
Yeah, so this is just a generic Axel account, just one of our testing ones. You can see I got about $5 in it. This part people probably recognize, deposit with crypto if you got crypto. This part's where it gets more fun. There's two things to flag. Of course, we got the MoonPay flow right over here, which looks like it's having some brief issues right now on staging. Then Robinhood Connect, which I'm excited about. Robinhood basically has a product where if you already have a Robinhood account, like I do, I can on-ramp straight from that. So that's another one where the flow is now live. Coinbase, of course, has had their Coinbase Connect product. You go through, and then just like any other fintech app, you just follow these steps. We have to KYC you, like driver's license, anything it might be. I'll go ahead and enter mine briefly. Scan that ID just using your camera. Click a button and then you're done. And the second you're finished with that flow, your bank account's going to straight up show up over there. You type in an amount, you click it, and then in a day or two, it's going to show up over here. So that's the flow. The goal is feature parity with fintech apps that people might be used to. So Jay, I'd love your thoughts on any of that. The actual flows I won't go through just because I don't want to dox all my info, but yeah.
Well, for sure, shout out to MoonPay and Robinhood, both great apps. I like the fact that you can use both of those to on-ramp. Now, I have shared Axel with several friends and family, and the biggest obstacle to everyone has been, well, how do I obtain USDC?
Yep.
And then within the different protocols and them trying to understand how to send it over and send it on the base network and et cetera. So I think ACH and seeing the ease of that flow is really going to open it up to regular users for you.
Absolutely. And it's crazy. Even the folks that really love this and they do anything in their power to go and get set up. One of my buddies, he can't get a Coinbase account because he's had issues with their support for a while. He doesn't have a Robinhood account and he doesn't really want to open up a brand new thing. So for him, despite loving this so much, he really needs bank transfers. Like we're just so used to, at least in the States, an ACH pull-like experience. Like I open up any app and I don't have to manually copy and paste these numbers. It just knows for sure. I know that I'm securely connecting to my existing bank and then moving money into something. So to me, this is the feature that I'm most excited about. It's the feature that I've been looking forward to since July, honestly. Ever since we built the V1 of the yield strat itself, you just need to help people get their foot in the door.
Yeah, it really is. It's a beautiful bridge from traditional finance into self-custody and owning your own money and then earning yield on it. With all of the announcements and everything coming out, it looks like you're going to be really competitive with this.
That's the goal. And then you got the mobile apps to truly feature parity. Let's talk about some fun stuff now. Like when we last spoke, I think it was early December, Jay. And there's a ton of cool stuff. We talked about Axel adding on other yield strats. We talked about user growth and efforts, even just talking about Axel to others. Why don't we just start with that? What have discussions recently looked like, even beyond Axel, like crypto, stablecoins? Of course, there's a ton of politics stuff. And I know you and I had a ton of back and forth on Twitter, just interacting with similar posts. Like, how do you view the dialogue and aura around this industry and around stablecoins and maybe yield?
Well, I hope that the adults enter the room when it comes to all of the Clarity Act and things going forth. There is a lot of back and forth on Twitter and high opinions about things that are really kind of nonsense. The laws really are going to bridge this thing and create that bridge between traditional finance and crypto. And I think that people in general will be more apt to jump into things like this when they see the regulatory framework behind it.
Fully agree. Like the way that I pitch a stablecoin now is so different. I was at a pitch event in New York, really close to our office last night, and not a crypto or finance audience at all. It's like a bunch of AI builders, and then a guy who's building a dating app, a guy who's like all these different ideas. And they're tech forward people. In theory, they are my target audience. Normally, I'd pitch a stablecoin as being like, it's a dollar, it lives on a blockchain, it's transparent, all of which are still true. But now I'm just like, it's a digital dollar, just the next form of the dollar, just the digital dollar, bipartisan support from the US government. This thing's already written into law with the Genius Act, and the number one issue on Capitol Hill for the last week, if not for the next couple of weeks, is just crypto regulation and stablecoin regulation. So just digital dollars, same way that I open up my Chase bank account and I just see a number. That's such a clear difference in how I've explained this. Curious, yeah, same for you, different for you?
Yeah, I would agree, and I think with the current administration pushing for a digital framework, and it's been stated very clearly that they want the United States to be the crypto capital of the world. In order for that to happen and for us to lead within the space, I think that all that's got to get pushed through, and I think that'll give consumer confidence. Without it, I don't know that we'll see the masses migrate. Again, I got into crypto in the DeFi space because originally just to own my own money. I've had I've had a lifetime of time of owning homes, having bank accounts, brokerage accounts. I've had bank accounts with all the major banks, and watching how I could earn a relatively very safe double rate on what my private banking legacy banking system was offering me. I was just dying to jump ship.
Yeah, I fully agree. I think you're definitely an early adopter. Of course, we over here are early adopters. And to your point, how do you get everybody else? Because I think everybody else is just as excited, but you need the government clarity. You need a bunch more money in these markets, and you need stable coins to just truly be a thing where the rate makes sense. Let's talk briefly because I think you'd be a cool guy to chat about this with, given the reasons for you getting into crypto being so much around like owning your money. And of course, a stablecoin, despite living on a blockchain, a lot like we saw this with Tether, with USDT of all things, I think last week, where I'm 99% sure it's the US government went in and wanted them to blacklist a specific subset of USDT because I don't know, Venezuela was using it for something, some other nation, state, or bad actor in the US's eyes was using it. So there is zero, like, despite what we say, there's zero doubt that stablecoins themselves, at least the major ones that will be regulated, are regulated, and there are still barriers on what they can be used for. So when you think about the spectrum between Bitcoin and that, and even Axel lying in the middle there, where of course we're adding on Bitcoin and Bitcoin yield, and maybe that has less trust assumptions, but stablecoin yield, maybe the DeFi part does not have trust assumptions, but the on-ramping part, absolutely. We have to use regulated parties. And then the stablecoin part, it does. How do you think that's changing? I think a lot of the crypto maxis and libertarian ethos going in, maybe changing a bit. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that looking at it from an illicit use standpoint, there does need to be protections in there, and it makes sense that we shouldn't see it and be used for illicit activities, right? Things that aren't within the spectrum of societal legalities, such as drugs and other things like that. With with the framework coming through, I think that's really the major point for getting the masses involved. Because when you do speak to people, and here where I am in Thailand, I advocate for crypto on a certain level when I meet people that I can tell are open to hearing something of that nature. But I still, the very first thing that people think of is scam or illicit activities or some sort of it's described as imaginary internet money.
Yeah.
But again, with the Genius Act and it being pegged to the U.S. dollar, I think it ultimately expands the use of the U.S. dollar around the world because even with your app, with an Android or with Apple, you have the opportunity anywhere in the world to hold U.S. dollars and earn yield on that, and that's never been possible before.
That's well said. That's really well said. It's so easy for us to get like sucked into this trap of non-custodial absolutely means non-custodial under any circumstances, which it does for a certain asset class of my money. Like there is zero doubt that I want to hold assets that I know I own. Like I physically have this phone, or maybe that's a bad example because I don't know, Apple could maybe do something with it. Like I have this fucking protein bar and nobody can do anything with it. Like it's
Right.
mine. Nobody can take it from me unless like you come and try to steal it, right? And what you just described for sure. Certain asset classes like the dollar, it's probably good to have dollar power. It's probably good to make sure that illicit uses are restricted. But even then, to your point, anywhere on Earth, that's already you're cutting out some middleman and restrictions. And then it's like any amount of money, any yield protocol. Like the trust assumptions are just the U.S. government and dollar itself, which regulation helps. And then that's about it. You hold your key. You still have your key. Axel goes down, Morpho goes down. None of that matters at all. Like you still own your money and you own your yield no matter what happens.
Right. You have your private keys, just like a lot of guys that are in this space have cold wallets, right? So you can't realistically get on an airplane and fly with a bag full of gold coins, right? Like a huge bag of gold coins, but you could fly with your cold wallet and take your assets with you. And this is part of that. This is just having access to US dollar coins anywhere in the world.
Absolutely. I'm trying to think, Jay. I mean, that's been the main thing this week. The Clarity Act, all things like Washington. It's going to be a crazy year for crypto, just in the nature of it. We're a little bit past New Year's, but first time I'm talking to you since the New Year's started, and it is January. What are your predictions or bets for this coming year? It could be anything. I read an Arthur Hayes blog yesterday. He's huge on Bitcoin for a lot of reasons, and it was a pretty funny read. But truly anything. How do you see the year shaping out?
Well, I see 2026 as being pretty pivotal. I don't necessarily know that it even depends on the laws getting passed because of all the major players that are talking about it. If you look at Twitter, a lot of these earnings calls and things that are happening, in the background, they're talking about tokenization. They're talking about DeFi. They're talking about how this moves money in a completely different way. And then when you build in AI and robotics and what that looks like with how things, I guess, how the financial side of that works, it all has to move on blockchain. And it really makes sense that you're going to start seeing a lot more RWA, that real world assets being tokenized. And when you think about it from even from a consumer standpoint of homes and cars and things, it makes a lot of sense. That would even, that cuts out middlemen in those industries as well. Not only in the banking industry on this side of things within USD, USDC, all of the different stable coins. You have ROUSD, you have Tether, all of the things out there. When you look at the long-term potential of this, everything's going on chain. It has to. It just makes a lot of sense. All the even music artists. Let's talk for briefly for a second about an independent music artist that wants to put their music on chain. They can build in perpetuity their royalties to themselves. And I think this year's going to be really pivotal. I see the market shifting a bit. There's been a lot of fear coming out of 2025 into
Yep.
2026 within the market itself. But I think we're gonna see that turn around this year.
I totally agree. Like tokenization is the word. I think the words that come to mind, stablecoins, tokenization, and then just like we're finally going to the masses. There will be something that's not straight up trading or gambling, to put it differently, that people are going to start to use. Either it's going to look like the Clarity Act in its current form, where granted there are some barriers, but still you can earn yield on stablecoins if you have an account at some of these providers or maybe some other things happen. That to me is a watershed moment. And then to double click on exactly what you said, I've seen a tweet floating around of the head of Bank of America. It's like from an earnings call, and they just transcribed this thing. And what was interesting for me to read is these people are not dumb. They know exactly what's going on. I respect almost any human on this earth, even the people who maybe are lobbying against this stuff. And like his call out was lending in the US financial system maybe gets attacked if you see a massive outflow of funds from bank accounts to yield generating stables. And he's like, yeah, like banks need to go and loan out stuff, like get a mortgage, get a car loan, like all these sorts of things. And I'm just thinking, and I just tagged one of our friends, a company called Dualment, that's doing short-term business loans on chain. If you're a laundromat owner or you own a solar panel farm or you have a chain of restaurants, go and get that loan on chain. And it's exactly your point. Like, get these real world assets tokenized for the collateral side and for what you're taking out loans against. You already have the rails for the money and the yield side itself. Maybe that's, no doubt it's early, but I think that's the next thing. If 2025 was stable coins and early innings of yield and payments, I think 2026 starts to become a lot more about lending and yield, a ton more.
Yeah, I think we start to see that too, and getting past this idea of banks running scared and crypto and this replacing the traditional finance. When you talk about the tweet that's floating around in the transcription from the Bank of America, these big players, they do know what's going on, and it makes a whole lot of sense if if it's challenging them, then it makes a lot of sense for them to get on board,
Yep.
right? If you're concerned about $6 billion of consumer funds flowing out of traditional banking into stable coins and into stablecoin yield platforms, create your own.
Yep.
Competition is what drives innovation. And this innovation in crypto and in stable coins is definitely going to drive some competition within the banking industry.
Completely. And ironically, just for our users who are listening, I know Jay knows because him and I were going back and forth on Twitter about this. Despite all the shit that crypto people are talking about with the Clarity Act and the current draft, it is so explicit to let existing banks and financial institutions do basically anything on chain. They can issue their own stable coin, they can do payments, they can earn yield, they can do remittances, literally anything. Like all the things that maybe crypto companies who don't have a lot of these licenses and who aren't totally non-custodial need to jump through hoops for, they can just do. So exactly to your point, I hope to see a world where like everybody's tokenizing deposits, every major bank is starting to compete on the stablecoin layer. And I mean, my bet, as I'm assuming yours is that the more decentralized and user-owned and automated these systems are, the better for everybody. And those are the platforms that are going to win. But yeah, like innovation and competition, absolutely across the board.
Yeah, and here's to freedom money. I think as people self-educate and these laws come out and it becomes more pervasive within the system, I think you're going to see people not necessarily jumping ship, but they're going to start asking questions to their bankers. They're going to start asking questions within the traditional finance system of, well, hey, I heard this is available, and they're going to have to meet that demand of their clients.
Yeah. Jay, why don't we wrap it up with like one anecdote from each of us over the past month? And it could just be, I'll give one related to like, we're trying to sell, of course. We're trying to get more folks onto Axel. We're trying to get them excited about what we're using. And then I'd love to hear a story about, I don't know, friends, family, anybody else, Axel or crypto, just a fun conversation from the past month. For me, I have a buddy from high school. So this is like, man, over like 7, 8 years ago now, who was never techie or in crypto, got into college, went to MIT, extremely smart guy, super techie, started studying CS, and made a decent amount of cash from a startup that he joined. He dropped out to go and work there. And I have not spoken to this guy in like 7 years. I sit down near our office, we grab a sandwich for lunch, and super simple. I'm just talking about this stuff, everything that we've just spoken about. Own your money, yield, traditional rates are falling. You can just go and start earning 6 to 10 just like that. I show him a brief demo of the app, and he's like, "Say no more, I'm in." And he opens up his phone, and this guy's quite wealthy. He's showing me millions of dollars in CDs on Goldman Sachs Marcus, like that high yield savings account product. And it's been bad. It's very predatory. The rates are bad because T-bill rates are falling. They subsidized it. They're losing money. They gave him a 1% APY boost for a year just because he brought so much capital in. And now that boost is over. The fixed rates on the CDs are over. So the high fee that he has to pay if he breaks it are gone. And he's like, next week, I'm going to put money into Axel. And I think that conversation, this is a guy who does not know anything about crypto and if anything had a negative view, and you can just go in like that and he groks it. It's to your point. There are certain people that just get it, and over time we want everybody, but like such a productive conversation for me, for him, versus like, yes, I want to educate my mom and a lot of my friends and family, but it takes time, and maybe I don't have the data points I need to go and sell them today. So that was a little rambly, but just a fun story on my end of like somebody who I never thought would be able to do this without a shit ton of education is just willing, just so excited. For him, it's the number, and it's like, yeah, damn, no lockups, no fees. You're not saying non-custodial, but it's all the benefits of non-custodial that he sees and he loves.
Right. Right. And maybe my story is probably from the opposite end of the spectrum with a friend of mine who who is a regular working person. They have a very steady job. They get a paycheck every 2 weeks, and life's pretty steady. However, they had never even thought about their savings account or looked at it. They were just kind of happy being able to save. And I suggested the app and said, "Hey, check this out. I've met this guy via Zoom, via Google Meet. We've chatted back and forth via Twitter, and I really like them. I like what they're doing, and they're genuine, right? You guys are genuine over there in what you're trying to offer people." And so we got him through a little bit of back and forth. I got him to understand how it operates and how it works, and he's able to, excuse me, it's going to be bad. I got choked.
All good, all good, all good. I'm on the edge of my seat right now.
So he was able through another platform to deposit his paycheck and earn a percentage back within some of these assets, right? Well, with this percentage back within these assets, he gave himself a 5% pay raise, 4.5, 5% pay raise.
Yeah,
So he took that 4.5, 5%, he started unloading those assets into USDC and depositing them into Axel. So now he's earning 5 to 10% on the 5 to 10% pay raise that he gave himself. That's a pretty sweet deal for a regular Joe.
that's such a good story. And that way of pitching it almost, it's the exact same product, but that makes that a lot of people will get excited about. Like I'm getting paid X bucks today. You start to maybe you go and make money a little bit, like tiny percentage of your portfolio, Bitcoin, some other volatile investment, maybe even some meme coins. Like you're betting and you're trying stuff out. And then that extra money, it's already on chain, go and earn yield on it. Like I think that, yeah, to your exact point, that's the intermediary before all of this is on chain. Paycheck and USDC already earning automatically, easy to move back and forth, but very fun example. Just regular guy, yeah.
Right. Yeah, and giving himself a pay raise because with inflation and the things that are happening, your dollar's devaluing as you earn it. You know, I mean, it's obvious if you look at the numbers, but most people don't look at things from that perspective. They don't see that overall devalue. If inflation's at 3% and you don't get a 3% pay raise every year, you better figure out how to give yourself more than 3% every year, or your money's devaluing as you earn it.
Absolutely. And hey, if you're, I highly recommend it to everybody, the Arthur Hayes newsletter, because it's hilarious. He opens up with like skiing and how much he loves it, and then he uses that as a parallel for a lot of what he sees in the market. But to Jay's exact point, he's big on like inflation's here to stay. The US government's gonna have to print a ton. There's a lot of volatile things that are in our near future. And in that world, it is, yeah, you're losing. You are not sitting at zero, which is, I think, the mental model everybody has for their bank account or savings account. You are actively losing. And like whether it's Axel or something else, just do yourself a favor and go and make sure that you're not losing that asset class that you've worked so hard to get.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you're earning, it it's it doesn't make any sense to stay at net zero because you're actually not staying at net zero with you are going down. Your money is devaluing as you earn it. And if you just sit it there and you're not giving yourself that extra percentage every year, you're in the negative.
Absolutely. Jay, on the final note, totally unrelated from all of us, how's life in Thailand? How's it been? I know last time you talked to me a little bit about like teaching and how great that's been. It's so cool what you're doing, and I think we've actually been able to speak to some nonprofits and charities, even on the lending side, which is crazy cool. Like you can just go and do microloans to people around the world through this platform called Kiva. We can't add it anytime soon, but at some point we'll do it. But yeah, how's life? How's life over there?
It's going really well. You know, I made the commitment about a year ago to give without expectation of return. And you know, I'm sure you guys have seen on Twitter. I've been throwing that out, and I don't even share my link, man. It's
Yep.
just my nature. It's who I want to be. And here I'm able to give to these kids. I'm working with some children who wouldn't otherwise have access to a native English teacher, much less an articulate person who's actually has a teaching background. So, you know, I sold a company in the U.S. and I came here with the intention to give, and I'm self-supported. I finance myself. I'm not paid anything for what I do. I pay for all of my travel to get here, and you know, I spend. I live with my students. I live with 50 students here out in the jungle, and giving them maybe an opportunity to do something with a little bit of English and a phone. You can go pretty far in this world.
I fully agree. I mean, growing up, I always, yeah, sometimes I even joke and tell my friends if I was not doing what I'm doing right now with Axel, the latter half of what you just said, like give everybody on Earth access to a phone and access to the internet, fully agree. That's such a noble thing. Like throughout human history, there's a lot of things that we've had to solve, and we're a long ways away on a lot of them, like just straight up health, poverty, access to a house, food. I think you give any child on Earth access to a phone and internet, oh my God, the possibilities are limitless, truly.
Right. And show them a little bit of the markets and how to put their money away and they can, anybody in the world can hold US dollars and earn yield on it now. So, up and to the right, let's go.
Let's do it. Cool. Good stuff, Jay. Always great chatting with you, man. And we got to keep this thing going every couple of weeks, every couple of months, get you back on. And we'll get cozy on it next time too. This guy's stuck on the train.
I understand and I appreciate it. Thanks so much for your time.
Oh yeah, dude. So.
Yep.